Welcome to the Jesus Coffee Yoga podcast. I'm Kristen, your co-host, and here we just chat all things Jesus, yoga, and we like to drink coffee. I'm actually drinking water today, but I'm going to talk to you today about some best practices that you can use as a yoga teacher, fitness instructor that will help your students feel confident, feel empowered, and keep them coming back. So if that sounds like something that could help you as a yoga teacher, then pull up your chair and let's chat. Welcome back, friends. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. And I want to just dive right into this conversation with you. I have a couple of teachers that teach on my team at our studio here where I live. And I was thinking through some things. I try to share just different practices and different ways that we can just develop and be better leaders, better teachers, and just build our craft. And as I was going through this list, I was like, well, maybe I can just share this with our Jesus Coffee Yoga podcast listeners. And so here we are. I love creating an experience for my students. I believe it was Maya Angelou. Is that right? Yes, Maya Angelou that said, people will never forget the way that you make them feel. They'll forget what you've said, they'll forget what you do, but they will never forget the way you make them feel. And the same thing is true when it comes to leading our students in yoga or fitness experiences. And that's what I like to call it. It's an experience, right? Like it's not just a class because they can go and download a YouTube video or do whatever. And it's more just like a class, like you giving them something that they're receiving. But this is more like an experience. You're taking them on a journey. You're engaging all of their senses. And so I just want to share a couple things that I do, that we do at our studio, or just that I like as a student as I've taken more classes recently because we have more teachers. Yay. Just things that they do that I really enjoy. And so hopefully these will help you in your teaching journey, no matter where you're at, whether you're getting started or you just need a refresher, right? We all do at some point. My heart and my main objective when I'm leading a yoga class, really leading anything, but we'll keep it to yoga today, is to help the student, to help the guest feel confident and feel safe during their experience. And I'll kind of share as we go through these things how each one can kind of come into play with that. Okay. So the first thing you want to do to create a wonderful experience for your guest is lead with clarity and volume. If the student cannot hear you, then they're not going to feel real confident in what you're asking them to do or where you're leading them to go, right? So get a mic, get something to amplify your voice. You can lower your music, but I have found, and we'll get there, that the music is so much of the experience as well. So I just have a couple different mics at the studio that we use as we're leading our classes so that they can hear us and then confidently make decisions. And they're just empowered to do what they need to do on their mat. And for obvious reasons, this also keeps them safe, right? The next thing that I would suggest that you do or that you might try is tell them why they're doing what they're doing and what they're working. So I was recently in a class where she explained like when we did certain things, it was working these certain parts of my body. And there's just something about knowing why you're doing what you're doing. Even just on a science or, a physics level, like a physical level, that can help your students learn better, to be better students of themselves as well, right? So you're teaching them to like, oh, I do feel this, or when I do this, it helps. It's going to long-term help with this, right? So like this morning, I was teaching, I have a group of men that I teach a couple days a week. And we were doing tabletop with the leg extended. And I was encouraging them to press the pinky side of their foot as close to the mat. And they're a little bit more seasoned in life, if you will. I was encouraging them to press the pinky side of their foot into the mat or to the floor as much as they could. And just telling them like, we're stretching out our ankles. We're working on that ankle mobility, which is important always, but specifically as we get into a later season of life. And so just sharing that one stretch, like they're also stretching, obviously different parts of their body are stretching, but just little things like that can help them understand why they're doing what they're doing. And then you're just more confident to do it, right? Something I also like to do is lead into the pose with cues, especially for beginners or people who don't know yoga verbiage or language, and then call the pose. So instead of just saying, go to down dog, it's, press into the palms, lift the hips, bend the knees, lift the heels, and reach the chest for the thighs, downward facing dog. So that may be one way that I do that. And for your advanced or your regular students, you can call the pose, like if they all know what down dog is, but still give them some time to feel through it and cue them through that. Like let them recognize what's happening in their body. You're feeling that those hamstrings wake up a little bit. Your neck is nice and relaxed because you can shake your head yes and no. So you're releasing some tension from your neck. So tell them why they're doing what they're doing. My next tip is low lights. And this may just be a preference of mine, but I always lead anytime I can with low lights. I have found that people tend to feel more confident when they don't feel exposed. So keeping like a soft glow, I usually do. I have some like just Christmas lights around the corners or the edges of my studio. And then I have some up lighting, which is kind of like stage lights that you can change different colors. You can even have them like fade from one color to the other. You can make it lighter, brighter. And I'll even let my classes pick, like, are we feeling pink today? Are we feeling blue? And I'll like show them. I just do it on an app on my phone. Depending on if it's like a spicy hot yoga class, I usually go with like warm colors like red and orange and like kind of bright, bold, energizing colors. If it's a relaxing class, I'll usually go with like a light violet or lavender or just a soft yellow glow. So I have found that it seems like my classes are more responsive to what I'm saying, or they're more confident on their mat when it's not so bright in the classroom. And just personally, as a student, I prefer the dark. I just like it. It just feels right for me. The next thing that I would suggest is having an incredible playlist. And I know that playlists can kind of be like a little bit like overwhelming. But your playlist really is a journey of where you're bringing them, right? So if your playlist is, or if your flow is about peace, but your playlist feels kind of upbeat and like a little more intense, or maybe you've got like a lot of minor songs on there that are kind of somber, then it doesn't quite match the flow. So you want your playlist to match what you're doing, but also like help them feel through. I love using music that people know. And I feel like anytime a song comes on that people know, it seems like you can just visibly see them relax into whatever it is they're doing, right? So make sure your playlist is on point. And really quick, I just want to share with you, if you go to christiansdoyoga.com/playlist, we actually have like a whole little session on like how to build your best playlist that Sheridan and I did a while back. Go grab that. It's totally free. christiansdoyoga.com/playlist if you need a little help building your playlist. All right. Our next tip is to infuse the environment with delicious aromas. So my students love oils. We're an oily yoga family, if you will. We love, love, love. But this also engages their sense of smell, right? So remember, we're trying to engage each person with all of their senses. What do they see? What do they hear? There's your music. And your voice. What do they feel? Is the room warm? Is it cool? Is it comfortable? Who's around? What's the vibe of the room? The same thing for their smell. But what I love about this is it reminds them of yoga and their experience. So, for example, if you always use lavender for your final touch when they feel the best, they feel like wrung out, right? There's like, oh, I made it. I feel so good. This feels good. I'm so glad I came today. And they associate that emotion and memory with the scent. So there's actually some science behind this. I won't go into it today, but your memories and your sense of smell are very, very married together. That's why, like my friend Melissa, I call her my oil dealer. She keeps us hooked up on oils at our studio. She taught me, like, this is why when you smell like homemade apple pie, you think of grandma's house. So certain smells will trigger memories or emotions. And the same is true here. So you're actually creating that memory. So when they smell lavender, they think, and it may not even be a conscious thought, they think, I'm relaxed. Right. And also, just like the lights and the music, use oils that match the flow of your class. So, for example, if you're teaching, again, like a hot yoga class, I tend to use more like energizing. So lemon and orange and peppermint. So like your more energizing oils all diffuse through the room. If you're going for something more relaxing and chill, so maybe that's where you get out like your lavender and your chamomile and your liang liang, so just match your oils to the theme if you can. If not, just whatever. Everybody loves peppermint. No one ever said I hate the smell of peppermint. That's a good one to to go with all the time. My next tip for you is to get off your mat and onto theirs. Okay, maybe not like actually on their mat, but get off your mat, walk around the room. Um, Even if you're just demonstrating the flow from a different point of view, because you have to remember if you're up at the front of the mat, depending on how your room is set up, the people in the back don't get to experience the front row feel. So if you walk halfway through the room and you get into your warrior two, they now get to feel your presence there, like you get to be with you. But it also gives you an opportunity to do any kind of hands-on assist, of course, making sure that they are comfortable with that up front, like in the beginning. Hey guys, I'm going to be walking around the class to be a part of your practice today. If you're not comfortable with that, we have stones at the studio. Place a stone on the corner of your mat so that I can honor that preference. Because some people don't like to be touched, but it just lets them know up front so that they also aren't distracted or disrupted or like seriously like nervous. I mean, I've been in a class before where I didn't know anybody. It was just, I was popping in because I was visiting somewhere. And the teacher came over to me and I was like, she's going to adjust me. Do I need to adjust myself? Do I need to fix myself? And I just got a little nervous. And of course, the first time it's fine, but then after that, I was good. But it doesn't distract them. So you're just letting them know ahead of time. So get off your mat and go join them in their practice. My next tip is always offer a final touch. This is the bread and butter. Okay, here's what I say. What's rewarded is repeated. You want people to come back. Let there be some reward system for them. And that honestly, like a final touch for most people is so rewarding. It gives you an opportunity also to make contact with them, right? To maybe pray over them, to just say a prayer of blessing for them, or just like, hey, I'm here. You're good. You're grounded. I'm here. I've got you. It just gives another touch point, right? And so I suggest doing one every single time. Now, whether you touch them or not is totally up to you. But this can be such a personal and refreshing experience. And honestly, like when I survey my students, I try to do an alignment survey once a year. This is always the thing people want more of. They love, and they don't want to see it go anywhere. Everyone loves a good final touch. I shouldn't say everyone. Most people love a good final touch, but you want those last few minutes where they are just soaking up the benefits of their practice. They're maybe basking in prayer and just allowing God's presence to do something in their life or in their heart, in their body, in their mind. And you just come over and promote that and you're just assisting that work, right? So a couple of options that I have that I do personally, just to share a couple of examples, is sometimes I'll do cold stones. I'll just place it right on their forehead. It's a nice little pressure point. A drop of oil on their wrist, and I'll just kind of let it run into their hand. And I do tell them this before. I always tell them what their final touch is. Maybe we should mention that. Tell them what their final touch is. Hey, everybody, while you're resting in this last few moments of reflection of prayer, I'm going to come around and I'm going to, and then fill in the blank. So I'll tell them, I'm going to drop some oil on your wrist into your palm. You're going to rub that together, build some heat. So again, they need clarity. They want to be told what to do, what to expect, right? Rub that together, build some heat, take your thumbs to the bottom of your chin, make a little TP, little pressure point with those fingertips, and take some deep breaths. You can also place, this oil is not spicy. So like if I have something with like peppermint or cinnamon, I always tell them like, keep this on your hands or your wrist. So this is an oil that you can place over your heart. You can rub it on your neck or your pulse points. So just giving them some direction so that, again, they feel empowered, they feel confident to know what to do or to make the choices for themselves. If they just want to rub it together, take a sniff and lay it down, great. If they want to like rub it all over them, they have the opportunity to do that. So drop of oil on the wrist or in the palms. You can also do a feet or like the leg adjustment where you grab the ankles and do a little decompression, little wiggle side to side. That can be kind of a weird one for depending on your student base, but almost everybody loves that little. And then, I always kind of rub or just kind of palm up to the shins and down the shins and kind of thumb the feet. So my crew loves that. Sometimes we'll also do cold towels, especially in my hot yoga classes or in summer classes. I'll just keep them in the fridge. I usually put some peppermint or lavender or both in with the water that I make the towels with. Keep them in the fridge. They love that, especially after a hot, sweaty practice. Rose water mist for their feet, or I'll even just spray it on whatever's exposed, like their chest. Again, after a hot class, just holding it over them, letting that rose water mist just spray their face, their arms, their hands, their feet, wherever you want to spray. A drop of oil on their forehead. I remember when I first started practicing yoga, my teacher every class, and she was consistent in this, and that's why you always want to offer something for them. She would always come around with either lavender or I think it was chamomile. I can't remember what the other one was, but it was one of the two. And she just placed literally just like a drop and just pressed it on my forehead and walked away. And that was it. And I looked forward to that drop of lavender after every hot yoga class. I didn't even realize that this is why I'm here for this one drop of and it's not like she did anything. All she did was just place a little drop on my forehead and it was wonderful. I loved it. I love the smell of it. And then of course you could do like a temple massage or neck massage. I like to take my thumbs around the hairline and kind of around their neck with your oil in your hands. So those are just a couple of examples I wanted to share with you just because this really is like one of those. It's like you could have your playlist could be meh or like par and your lights, you could be outside, but I'm telling you, you get them in final touch. It just helps them. This is where they feel safe. We want our students to feel safe, not only in their practice, but we want them to feel safe to open up and to release and to let go. Like they don't have to carry it all by themselves. This is one of those things. And the last tip that I have for you is end on time. I know this seems like a weird one to kind of put in here right with this, but what this does when you end on time every class, this builds trust with your students. And when they trust you, then they learn to let go. And then they start to work to trust themselves. Right. So it's just one of those kind of subliminal ways to build trust with your tribe is do what you say you're going to do. We are going to end on time. I do tend to start my classes about 2 to 3 minutes after start time on purpose. I kind of get everybody situated and then we start. That way, if anybody's trickling in during opening meditation, it's not quite as distracting because we're not as far into our opening meditation. But I always end on time, or I will let them know, hey, today I have an extended meditation for you. So we're going to go over by about 15 minutes. I'll let you know when we move into that. If you need to leave right on time, I'll give you the cue to do that. But more than anything, it just builds trust with them. And this is just one more, again, hands-on building trust because they trust you enough. Coming around to them, helping them in their practice. She wants me to be better. She wants me to feel the fullness of this trust. So you're building safety, you're building trust, and you're building confidence with them. So the more confident your student is, the more likely they are to show back up. Right? Because they don't have to wonder, what is she going to do this? It's just a consistent offering from you. So just to recap, our main objective is to help our students feel confident and safe during their experience. Some things we're going to do is lead with volume and clarity. We're going to tell them why they're doing what they're doing, lower the lights or make a nice lighting situation. We're going to have a bomb playlist. We're going to infuse our room with aromas. We're going to get off our mat and teach from different parts of the room. We're going to offer final touches, and we are going to end on time. So those are just a few things that I have observed, that I have practiced, that my students tell me with the feedback that they give me. These are things they like. These are things that are working. And as a student, that I tend to agree with. Thank you so much for being here. I love getting to spend this time with you. I hope that this content was helpful for you. As always, we love hearing from you. If there's anything that you would love to add to this list as a yoga teacher or as a yoga student, I'd love to hear that. What are some things that you enjoy teaching or offering your students, or you enjoy receiving as a student? Let us know. And like we say every time, it's an honor to get to create these podcasts for you and for yoga teachers just like us. And the more you share our podcast, not only does that help get the word out and help other teachers, but it helps us keep creating these podcasts for you. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you share with a couple of friends or in the groups that you're in, and we will catch you on the next episode.